coast to coast and around the world, streaming and podcasting on the World Wide Web. From Boston, Massachusetts, it's time for Ask Dr. Ron, on a mission to cure the world. I'm Dr. Ron Cherubino, welcoming you to a special segment of the Ask Dr. Ron show, known as Healthy Conversations with Dr. Ron, where I invite leaders in the field of natural healthcare to share with us their insights, perspectives, and points of view concerning what has come to be known as alternative, integrative, complementary, or holistic medicine. Call us toll-free, 877-275-3776. That's 877-ASK-DR-RON. We'll be taking your questions off the air. That's 877-275-3776. And you can always email your questions through the Ask Dr. Ron website at www.askdrron.com. As always, I encourage listeners at the outset of the show to enter this audio world with an open heart, a respectful attitude, and a genuine desire to learn from the information and points of view presented herein. With me today, Dr. Michael Ryce. Dr. Michael Ryce is the founder and director of Heartland, a self-healing center in the Ozark Mountains. He is a world-renowned lecturer and teacher on health and healing with doctorates in naturopathic medicine and in holistic philosophy. His unique synthesis of information and tools is acclaimed a powerful blend of spiritual principles and intellectual clarity guided by the heart. The profound depth of Michael's work has gained him a reputation among his peers as a teacher's teacher and a healer's healer. Dr. Michael Ryce, welcome to Healthy Conversations with Dr. Ron.
Well, it's a delight to be here, Dr. Ron.
We are so glad to have you on. I have had the pleasure, I should tell people that now you've written several books, right? Not just the one that I'm familiar with, but ones that I need to still be reading.
Well, I've actually got 5 other books on the go,
Wow.
but the only one that, aside from our Aramaic work that's been published, is Why Is This Happening to Me Again?
Yeah. Why is this happening to me again? And it says, and what you can do about it. Just a tremendous book for people. I also want to tell people that on our website, AskDrRon.com, under Healthy Conversations, you'll find more information about Michael and a link to his website, as well as a picture so you can see what he actually looks like.
You know, I feel blessed that the universe reserved the title, Why Is This Happening to Me Again, for me, because it's such an obvious title. And what it looks at, in essence, is that, oh, by the way, people can go to our website, that link through your site.
Yes, yeah.
And they can download the book free.
Really?
If they want to read it.
Hey, I'm going to interrupt with a question here, because I've got this question. I wrote it down, and I wanted to ask you this. Now, I've heard that you offer your workshops free.
Yeah.
Is that true?
The second component of what we do, our travel work, 99% of our travel workshops are done free. Jeannie and I, my wife, actually left home the end of September, and we will get back there the end of July, and we're just out around the globe.
Yeah.
And 99% of the workshops we do are free.
Now, what I want to say is I think many people are probably thinking, well, he's probably independently wealthy. That's why he can do these for free. And what's the scoop on that?
Well, fortunately, my father owns the universe, so, but no, I'm not independently wealthy.
No, but you're wealthy. See,
no, the way that that we do our work is
wealthy.
at the end of each workshop, we let people know the reason it's free.
Yeah.
Is that our commitments to make it available. Whether people have got money or not is irrelevant.
Right.
And then we invite people to support us with a donation if they like what they got, and that's
Fantastic.
what supports us totally. Wow. No independent wealth except my connection to the information and our willingness to share it, whether people have got money or not. Oftentimes it's the people who don't have any money that need it most.
Yeah, absolutely.
Probably the greatest atrocity that's been done to us as human beings down through the ages, and that we've bought into is we've bought into the idea that, or we've lost the idea that we're creators. And in not realizing that, the way that we create what happens in our lives oftentimes becomes totally unconscious, and it's patterned by what we hold inside of us.
Yeah.
And, of course, our culture teaches us that all we need to do is forgive and all will be well.
Right.
And we're taught that forgiveness is, I have something terrible and painful happening inside of me that, of course, is all your fault, so I'll forgive you. I'll let you off the hook for what's going on inside of me.
Yeah, that's the way I learned it.
Yep. Well, I just engage when I do that in the act of pardoning you for what's going on inside of me, but I've done nothing to address what's happening inside of me.
Good point.
I'm the director of a foundation that's translating the oldest known copy.
Yeah, I noticed that on your bio. Please tell us some about that.
Well, the oldest known copy of the New Testament in Aramaic, its original native language, into English is what we're working on. And in that language, you would never be counseled to forgive someone else or to forgive yourself for anything, because that's the act of pardoning. What you would be told if something painful was happening inside of you as a result of what someone else had done, or what appeared to be as a result of what someone else had done, you would be counseled to apply the tool of forgiveness to your pain to rid yourself of the physiological capacity to ever produce that painful experience again. That's forgiveness.
Wow. Wow,
it's
is that a
changing
different...
what's happening on the inside, and if we never change what's happening on the inside, of course we're stuck in that why is it me again experience over and over and over.
Well, I mean, when you think of it now, that's radical thinking for many people, simply because how we deal with forgiveness is oftentimes something that we're taught so automatically in our lives that we're just taught it's this rote thing of, oh yeah, okay, well this is fine, you're hurting me, but I forgive you for that because I'm such a wonderful person, instead of dealing with it the way you're describing it right now.
Right, and of course, if I look at the fact that one of my tongue-in-cheek lines in workshops is often, if I've been through a particular painful reality 87 different times with 42 different people, sooner or later I got to start to notice that I'm the one that was there every time.
Exactly.
This is about me. This isn't about you.
I love it.
This isn't about them.
Yeah.
This is something my physiology is producing, and forgiveness is how I address and change that physiological capacity. If I never do that, then I leave an interfering energy in my physiology, and it creates interruption in my physiological processes, which we call disease.
I love it. I love it.
But the fact is, there's no such thing as a disease that's out to get us or that can get us. It's dis-ease when I allow anger, hatred, vengeance, fear, guilt, slander, condemnation, gossip to exist in my physiology. I literally have in me a cellular interruption energy that if I leave it there will ultimately destroy the cell that it's impacting.
Wow, think about that as far as disease. I mean, I know you have it for people. Think about what an impact that has and what a freedom it would be to deal with that in a realistic way that really works. I'm thrilled to hear that. So people, what you're saying is people can go onto your website, and Why Is This Happening to Me Again? It can be downloaded free of charge.
Yes.
I would say what you were saying about forgiveness and kind of pointing the finger, as it were. I don't mean this in a negative way, but back to yourself and saying, well, wait a minute, here I've had this situation 100 times, and the only person that's been in common is me.
Right.
What do you say to someone that says, well, I feel condemned when you tell me that? I mean, you're telling me I have to...
And what I would offer is, notice how what happens in your family bloodline is a lot of condemnation. And so you want to start applying forgiveness to self-condemnation to rid yourself of that.
Right.
Because that comes from your physiology.
Great, good.
The other person who would feel guilt as they hear that thought, then I would offer to them, then what you want to do is you want to start to apply forgiveness to your guilt to get rid of this guilt from your physiology, because what you're doing is following family patterns. When you think on an energetic level, I love Einstein's thought. He says, on such things as matter, we have been all wrong. What we have heretofore called matter is energy whose vibration has been so lowered as to be perceptible to the senses. There is no matter. We're not dealing with a physical body. We're dealing with an energetic system, and there are qualities of energy that belong and qualities that don't. In the ancient Aramaic language, the word sin is not some terrible, awful thing we've done. It's actually an archery term, and when you fired at the target and missed the bullseye, the scorekeeper yelled, "Sin, you're off the mark." And all that word means is that you're engaging in an energy that isn't uplifting for your physiology. You're off the mark.
You're off the mark. I love it.
Exactly. But if you pretend that the fact that you're off the mark is somebody else's fault, then your mind will generate images of how they're to blame, but it's your behavior and your action that's producing that energy, that sin that's off the mark.
So in other words, you're saying there's no way you're going to be able to correct it if it's someone else's fault.
Yeah, the pretense that it's all everybody else's fault, what's going on inside of me.
Yeah.
And when I engage in that, in the ancient teachings, they said the wages of sin is death, and that's been made to sound like some kind of threat. God's going to get you for your sins or what your fathers did or Adam did.
Right.
But it isn't that. When you understand it from the point of view of physics, and the Aramaic language is a physics language, it's not a theological language. What they were saying was the result of engaging in error after error after error after error is your physiology falls apart. The wages of sin is death. And when they said the sins of the father will be passed, yea, into 3 and 4 generations, they weren't saying God's going to get you for what your fathers did. What they were saying is, here's how your physiology works. Every energy you engage in is stored holographically in every cell in your structure, including the sperm and the egg. And were you to conceive a child tomorrow, that child would have in its structure every thought you've ever thought, every feeling you've ever felt, every reality you've engaged in, including back to 4 generations in your bloodline. And they're the patterns you're going to get to deal with in your life. And if you refuse to deal with them, then you'll just carry on in the same old family pattern and, of course, blame everybody else.
Well, I'll tell you, I have over the years, and since I do work with energy medicine at the Cherubino Health Center here, I've worked with techniques. In fact, we currently work with a technique that we call upper level technique. It's just probably not the most glamorous name, but working with energy patterns, many of them coming through the ages because they've been passed down from grandparent to child to child to child.
Precisely.
Yeah.
Precisely.
Well, it's interesting to me because whenever we say, let's say we're talking about physical health as we do oftentimes on the show, and we'll tell people, well, just for one example, we'll say raw juices with live enzymes are energetically good for your body. And people will have trouble sometimes with the concept of energy. Simply because we're taught to think in very physical terms. And we will think that everything's chemical. I mean, let's face it, we're in a society where our medicine is very physically based, and we're talking chemicals. But the connection between energy and the physical body is tremendous. And, of course, you cover so much of this in so many deep ways, by the way, Michael, that it's not always the easiest thing for people that are uninitiated to follow. But that's why I think the book, and I want to remind people, the book is Why Is This Happening to Me Again? And what you can do about it. And I would encourage people to go onto our website at www.AskDrRon.com, and we've got a place there with Michael's picture and a link to his site where you can become familiar with all of the wonderful information he's got on his site as well. Michael, if I were to ask you, all right, people are listening now. You've gotten their interest, and you've really said some very profound things, actually, which is why I encourage people to read the book because it'll reinforce it. But is this something where there are practical steps for people to start with right away, or is it something where they need to get to your workshop, or should they do both?
Well, they can go to the website, download the book free. Of course, we're happy if people want to buy it. We have it in a CD format or with an MP3 or the printed book. Mm-hmm. They can download it digitally from the website and read it. But basically, some simple steps to start out with is to start to recognize my responsibility. Again, I'm the one, my mind can trick me into thinking it's about everybody else, but I'm the one who's been there every time, kind of another, like a test that we've developed to kind of break through the game of projection of blaming everybody else, is that we've developed, and it's a fairly complex test, but a test for determining whether or not a thing that you're feeling is yours or not.
Right.
And the test is this: are you feeling it? Once you recognize you're feeling it, you got to recognize it's something in your physiology. It's got nothing to do with anybody else.
Right.
That's one of the most basic steps that somebody can take. And once they stop the game of pretending it's about everybody else, then their mind starts to show them things differently.
Yes. Yeah.
One of the places most humans live is in blockage of truth. And I love my own opinion much more than I love the truth, and my opinion is you're the problem in my life.
Right.
Don't bother me with the truth that I've been there every time it's happened to me. And the solution for that dilemma, another step people can take, is to choose to love truth more than they love their own opinion. And as they love truth, the mind starts to show them different evidence. And as it shows them different evidence, then they can start to see the parts of their minds that hold their pain and their trauma, and they can start to apply forgiveness to those parts of their minds.
Well, one of the things I thought of now, and playing devil's advocate, is dealing with people on a day-to-day basis. I see people are pretty much conditioned to the world that we live in, and of course, what you're doing is you're really helping them. You're giving them tools to break out of that. And to look at reality. Of course, so many people these days, especially so many young people, if you say, well, you need to step out of what I would call denial, or, what you're using a little bit different name, but
a river in Egypt.
Yeah, exactly. But I'll say, say something about reality. I could see people saying, well, what is reality? How do you know reality? Isn't one person's reality different than another person's reality? Michael, how would you address that?
Well, that's a major topic in my work, and that's the difference between reality and actuality. If you've ever been in a courtroom where 6 different people testified about an accident, perhaps you wondered if any 2 were at the same accident.
Right.
And there's some interesting Harvard research that shows that in a time frame where 10,000 brain cells fire, where literally there are 10,000 measurable units of electrical activity in the brain, the max amount of information that goes into building our reality is 9 bits.
Right.
We get to see this tiny, tiny fragment of what's going on in our mind, and what's going on in our mind is a tiny, tiny fragment of what's going on in the world.
Right.
The estimate is there are perhaps as many as 20 trillion bits happening in that same time frame as we see 9 bits.
Wow.
So my reality is different from yours.
Mm-hmm.
Everybody listening to this based on this radio show right now, everybody listening is experiencing exactly the same actuality, but I guarantee, Ron, that your reality right now, the output of your mind about this, is different from mine.
Absolutely.
Mine is different from the guy driving down the street and every other man or woman that's listening.
Right.
Our mind outputs what our content is, and if we live in blockage of truth, then we can't see what content is ours and what belongs to someone else. And until you love truth enough to be able to see your own content accurately, you can't change it, and you'll get stuck in those painful patterns.
So am I correct then in what you're saying is that if you're able to get past that blockage, then you're going to be open to truth, and the truth will reveal itself to you?
Right. You'll start to see things accurately when you turn to someone and you want to, swipe at them because you're feeling some form of pain, and you stop and you take a breath and go, wait a minute now, I've been through this pain 87 different times with 42 different people.
Right.
I'm the one that was here every time. Now my mind's showing me that it's all about them, but let me take a breath and just look inside myself and be willing to see if I have a part to play here.
Right.
All of a sudden, I'm going to see a totally different 9 bits of information, and I'm going to start to see the root of my pain. When I see the root of my pain, I can apply forgiveness to it and throw it out.
Right, right. And that's the thing, people, too. You talk about, in your book, you talk about healing crisis, the concept of actually feeling the pain. Many people try to apply principles to their lives and to healing, but as soon as they run into any pain, they kind of freak out. I guess it's human nature, and turn away from it, thinking that that's not a good path to go down because there is something unpleasant down there.
Yeah, healing is not a Dr. Feelgood process.
Right, right.
And what most people try to do is manage their lives and control everybody around them in a way that they don't have to deal with their pain. And if they can't control everybody around them, that's when they turn to things like drugs and alcohol to anesthetize against their pain.
Right.
Once you start really taking responsibility and dealing with your life, you get to look at some things that sometimes aren't very pleasant. That's why we call them a healing crisis.
Right.
And you'll start to work back through those generational issues that need to be undone and dealt with in order to change what's happening in your world.
Right, right. Well, that's fantastic. I kind of, I've had so many questions over the years, especially over the 10 plus years I've done radio. And I guess I automatically start thinking like these, the people that are going to ask me the questions this week, and I'm sure we'll get questions in this time. By the way, I wanted to say, too, many people that are listening to the podcast may have questions. if you have questions for Dr. Michael Ryce, you may send them through our website, and we will make sure that he gets those. And that's, Michael, is that okay to send those on to you if people have questions? Because I'm sure people will have questions. And of course, the main show here is Ask Dr. Ron, so that's what people are used to. They're used to free advice. We do the same thing. People will tell us, Dr. Ron, I don't get it. You answer these questions free. Aren't you busy? I said, I'm so busy. It's amazing, but I love it. And I get blessed by blessing others. And that's it. I mean, that's the whole cycle. And the better I get in my own life, and God knows I've got my path. I just find that I'm freer and I'm more of a conduit to give. And so many people listening to the radio today really need in their lives the ability to give more freely, because they need to become a part of that whole blessing of giving and receiving.
Well, I love what Richard Bach says in his book Illusions. We teach best that which we most need to learn.
Yes, absolutely.
So here we are.
Yeah, isn't that the truth? And
this body of work called "Why Is This Happening to Me Again?" and what you can do about it, I've been doing for almost 40 years now. So if somebody looks at it, they know what I need to learn. It's an endless unfoldment. Yeah. And every time that I get to teach that workshop, it's actually a 3.5-hour workshop that we do all over the globe. And as you said earlier, we do it free. I get another piece of the puzzle. I get to open another part of my own mind, of my own generational history, and get to clean up another piece of it. And that's of it.
I just think, Michael, so many times people are looking for a quick fix in their lives. They really are looking for a way of getting away from the pain. Many of the people you were mentioning, drug addiction and alcohol addiction, it could be any kind of addiction or use of ways to anesthetize yourself. People kind of catch on after a while. Many will catch on that that's not a good thing to do. But they're still looking for quick fixes. And the thing is, you offer realistic fixes. In other words, you're teaching people how to walk through healing. But it's healing really at, I believe, at a spiritual level. And I think that's the key when people do get your book, Why Is This Happening to Me Again? I recommend, I'll tell you the truth, I mean, if you want to download it, that's great. But if you have the means, I certainly would get a copy so you can kind of have it and curl up in bed with it, because I think it's the kind of thing that really hits you where you live. And I know I've got a copy in front of me. I've got a copy at the center. I've got several copies at home. My wife finds people that needs them and gives them out. So we're tremendous supporters of the work. Michael, do you have workshops coming up now? Are those listed on your website? So if people want to participate in these, they can?
Yeah, when we travel and teach, we do about 99%. There's actually one workshop that we do charge a fee for, but otherwise 99% of our travel work is done free. We present all over the globe, and basically we present anywhere we're invited. So if someone has a place they'd like us to present and communicates with us, we'll put it in our listing.
Oh, that's great. That's good to know, actually.
And then we'll look at, the next time we do a tour, what we do each year is look at where do we have the most requests, and that's the direction we'll take our tour. Right now we're in Southern California. Mm-hmm. We just had a really difficult January, February, early March. We had to spend 10 weeks in Hawaii.
Oh, it's terrible. Well,
that was tough, but we kind of, just gritted and made our way through it.
See, you're a hero for doing that. Come on, who else would do
that? In Southern California right now, and
that's got to be bad too, right?
Workshops in L.A., and then we're heading north to Berkeley in about 2 weeks, and then Sacramento and up into Portland. Then we're back down into L.A. For a week, and then heading to Chicago, then to Birmingham. Actually, we're kind of covering the country here.
Well, it sounds great. I'm going to, once more, because we're almost out of time here, I'm going to remind people to get onto our website, www.AskDrRon.com, and just hit on, whatever you do, click on Healthy Conversations, and you will see Michael Ryce right there at the top of the list. And there's all sorts of wonderful information. Michael, if you were going to leave people with one quick thought, you've already given many pearls of wisdom. I bet you can pull one more pearl out before we close with our audience here.
Well, my highest thought in that regard would be that the truth is you and I and every person in our listening audience is made of love stuff. when we're not functioning out of that love stuff that we're made of, we're in trouble. A mind with hostility and fear in it is a mind that compromises truth and leaves us without a solution. If we keep bringing forward the being that we are, the stuff we're made of as love, we will break through everything that doesn't belong in us and in our bloodline and change the whole direction of our world.
I love it. Michael Ryce, thank you so much for being with us today. And I'm sure people will have questions. Again, if you have questions for Michael, just send them on in as you would for any Ask Dr. Ron question, and we will make sure that those questions get to him. You can call us with them, and we'll transcribe them and email them if you'd like to do that. Michael Ryce, it has been a blessing to have you on. We'll have to do it again sometime. It has been tremendous. Thank you so, so very much.
Well, I'm open to do it anytime, Dr. Ron, and thanks for the blessing that you are in the world. Lots of love. Take care.
Thank you so much. God bless. You've been listening to A Healthy Conversation with Dr. Michael Ryce, the author of the life-changing book, Why Is This Happening to Me Again? And What You Can Do About It. Your questions are always welcome, whether by email through www.askdrron.com, that's AskDrRon.com, or through our toll-free number, 877-275-3776. That's 877-AskDrRon. If you would like more information about our guests, go to our website, AskDrRon.com, and simply click on the icon for Healthy Conversations with Dr. Ron under Quick Links on the right side of every page. Also, remember you can listen to this broadcast anytime you'd like on that same site, AskDrRon.com. Just click on Healthy Conversations with Dr. Ron. In this way, you can listen to the show on your computer, on your MP3 player, or iPod. And remember, the shows are also available through iTunes. Until next time, this is Dr. Ron Cherubino wishing you good health and God's blessings. The opinions expressed on the Ask Dr. Ron show, Healthy Conversations with Dr. Ron, are solely those of the guests and do not necessarily reflect the opinions of the staff or practitioners of the Ask Dr. Ron radio show, Ask Dr. Ron Information Services, Cherubino Health Center, its employees, or affiliates. Information given is meant to educate, inform, and assist people in improving their overall health. It is not intended to replace the advice of your trusted healthcare practitioners, nor is it intended to diagnose, treat, cure, or prevent any disease.